Tansei, good morning. I am today talking a little bit about our food sovereignty camps and what that's going to look like, what we're going to explore, when it's happening, some of those details. So I'm here in the Tawatna Valley, Tawatinau, and this is where I live, and this is where the camps are going to be happening, just up a little ways in the valley. And we're going to be inviting others from our region to come and join and learn about our relationships with the land through our foods. Our foods these days are produced in a way that actually really harms the land, and it harms our bodies. And so we have a lot of disease, and our lands and our waters are sick because of this. But it doesn't have to be that way. We have beautiful instructions on how to live here on these lands, which actually care for ourselves and the land. And it's important that we remember those. So that's part of what we're going to be looking at, is what are those relationships and how can we ensure that our foods heal the land? The way that we're going to do this is we're going to explore the many levels of relationships that exist in order for us to eat on a regular basis. So what are some of those relationships? We have relationships with plants, we have relationships with animals, and we have relationships with each other. In coming out to our food sovereignty camps on the land, we are going to sit and learn together about these relationships, and we're going to have hands-on work on the land where we explore the steps that we can take to apply these teachings to the food that we have for our families. So we're going to explore many different ways that these relationships can look, from growing food, stewarding our hoofed animal relatives who have such an important relationship with the land. We're going to look at foraging. We're going to be looking also not just producing or gathering food, but processing food so that it lasts the whole year for our families. We're going to look at all types of food, from vegetables, meats, fruits, and also starches or grains. We're going to look at traditional foods, but also our modern food sources and how to at least make those healthier for us and healthier for the land. We're going to process food. So learning about how to store food is actually really important. There is so much bounty through the year, whether we're foraging or whether we're growing a garden or out hunting for meats, but we need to know how to properly process all of that food if we want it to last. So processing is things like butchering, drying, freezing, canning, root cellaring or cold storage. So all of these different storage methods or processing methods are a really important way that we interact with our food. So we're going to share those methods and teach about how to use those processing methods for the foods that our families eat. It's going to be a very exciting and involved time. These camps will be 4 days long each, on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 4 times throughout the year. So our first will be in March, and this is because this is the end of our winter and the turning towards spring, and this is when everything's starting to come back to life. This is when our foods start to be available here on the land. So we're going to start with our teachings in March. Then in April is when things are really bursting to life, and this is when we begin to look at our foods, our plant-based foods for growing a garden and also foraging for food. So in April we'll have our second camp. Now, as we get a little bit later into the season, we're going to have our third camp, where we're going to look at those relationships that we maintain with berries, also with our gardens and caring for them, putting out some of our later plants that we have to keep sheltered and indoors for the first little while because they really like the warmth, and putting them out into the gardens. And how do we care for the gardens? Make sure that they have enough moisture, and make sure that we're watching for those things that would harm those plants, those what some people would call pests, but those other beings that eat them, and how to nurture and protect those plants from those things throughout the season. And so that's going to be happening later in the season in June and maybe the first week of July, likely in the end of June though. We don't have the dates for those ones planned yet. And then at the very end of the season, we're going to be talking about processing specifically. So in our late August, early September camp, we're going to be processing meat. We're going to be drying and smoking it. We're going to be canning. We're going to be dehydrating, doing all of those things that allow us to interact with our food in a healthy way. We have fundraised for a lodge where all of this can happen. So we'll be stitching together that lodge next week, the canvas covering that we've purchased for it, and we'll be beginning to harvest the lodge poles for that also. So these are separate from the camps, but they're related, they're important, and so there's opportunities to come and help with those sides of the camp also. And with each of the camps, we'll be gathering for learning in that space, but then also outside. And so this is all season experiences on the land. We're really blessed in this valley that we have a lot of wild foods, and of course we have the gardens. And where we're having the camp where I live, I also raise hooved animals and birds and all kinds of things. So there's lots for us to explore and learn together there. As a part of our experience, we'll also be encouraging others to take these teachings, these learnings, and apply them in their own yards, in their own homes, wherever they live, and on the lands around them. And so we'll also be having a giveaway, which I am gathering for right now, and everyone's invited to participate in. And this giveaway is an example or an expression of our teachings of reciprocity. So for me, in inviting you all to come and to learn, this is the culmination of a lot of effort and prayers, and I am leading that giveaway because of those prayers of ensuring that our families have enough food and that we have those instructions brought to the forefront again for our peoples, for our lands, for our families. And so this is my expression of gratitude for this all coming together and for the support that I've been receiving in ensuring that this happens. So the giveaways will be things related to food and hopefully will bring blessings for those who want to apply all of these things, to grow a garden, to process food. And there will be other people at the camps on the land who are there for their own purposes and for things that they've been praying for and asking for help for, and so they'll be participating in that also. And I invite you to come and to learn not only about these different teachings of growing and processing and harvesting and foraging for food, but also to get that hands-on experience and to participate in the giveaway. We will be feasting every day together. We will be preparing food. We will go through those experiences of not only learning about processing food, but also processing food each camp. And we will eat healthy foods together and share with each other in that way. People are invited to camp while they're here. It is bush camping, so you have to bring everything that you need for your own comfort. But we also have some accommodations in Athabasca, which is about 20 minutes north of where we are. And so you could book a hotel room if you want to stay for the whole thing but don't want to camp. Or you're welcome to come for 1 or 2 days. Each day we'll be talking about different things and experiencing different activities on the land, involving going out and walking to look at the different foods that grow in this region, and out in the field where the gardens will be. All the foods that we're growing are intended for our community. So I have my own family's garden, and that's where my food is grown for my family. But these gardens that we're building and learning on will be growing food for our new families who are welcoming babies in our region, and also for those families who and communities who are hosting ceremonies. If they want access to food instead of having to buy it all at the grocery store, then they'll have access to these foods also to bless those communities. So it's exciting. There's many layers, and I think it's really pertinent right now. Our food costs at the grocery store are going up, and we've seen a lot of food insecurity over the last 2 and even longer years. Our cost of living has increased so much, and yet our foods are less and less healthy for us, and they cost more. And I think it's really, really important that we learn to reestablish and nurture those relationships right where we are, because this place, this land can support us. And we just need to relearn what those relationships are, on how to foster those plants and those animals, how to interact with the land. And so that's what our focus is going to be this year. And I hope that you'll join us for some or all of it. And if you can't join us for those dates, so our dates in March are the full moon weekend in March. So that's the 17th, 18th, 19th weekend. And you're welcome to come for the whole thing or part. But if you can't come and you still want to be involved and participate, maybe you want to support ahead of time with the stitching of the canvas, or collecting those lodge poles, or in many other ways, just reach out to me. And I'm certain that there's a way that you could be involved even if you can't join us on the land. I'll be sharing more details. There are much more specific details to be shared, and some of the justifications as to why we're doing this. There's so much more to talk about as to why we're gathering and why this is important, and how did we even get here in the first place, where we have such relationships that are so strained and in some ways so broken with the land and with our food. So there's a lot to share about that, and I will be sharing more. I have a specific group created, not on Facebook, but on a different platform, which is dedicated to food sovereignty, which I run, and I'll be sharing details. For example, if you are joining us on the land, how do you get here? Where are we? What's the location? What time should you arrive? All of those specifics, what to bring. And that will be shared specifically in that group. These are not things that are being posted publicly, those details, because we want the community to join us, but we want it to be a safe space also. So I want to make sure that people are interacting and knowing what they're getting into and joining us on the land before they're given directions to where we are. So that's being shared in that more private group. And I hope that you'll join us in that group if you'd like to come to the camps or support the camps in some way. All right. I will talk to you again soon. Take care.